Hi guys, happy Witchy Wednesday. Yes, happy Witchy Wednesday. So, alright, but first thank you guys for all of the prayers, the good thoughts, all of everything that you guys are doing through that fundraiser thing that I did for Chico. So we're $175 up on 700, so I don't want to go there, so I'm just trying to think of how I could magically help shrink it. So if the universe is it's an entire mind, it's mental, everything is mental. So the tumor, it must be mental. So it has to come from some kind of bad karma from a past, or just I don't know. With animals, it's completely different. It's completely different than it is humans. So I don't know. I was just trying to think about how to heal the dog. I mean, how to go about this. I have very little bits of his toenails, so I don't even know what to do about that. But so how are we doing on Ouija Boot Camp, guys? Are we doing good? I hope. Yeah. So alright, so we discussed a lot. We have gone through a lot. Last night I did blog all of the different what did I blog for you guys? Oh, we left off with tonight I will continue with the gnomes. So it was the exercising of the 4 cardinal directions. So we are kind of finishing up with the conjuration of the 4. What else did we go over? The pentagram, the true pentagram. We went over the tarot. We went over a lot of Kabbalah. So, ceremony of the initiates. The initiates. So this is very interesting as well. So, alright. So since all of these initiations are long lost, unless somebody is the magician, so say for instance the wand, how you are supposed to get a mage to transference of energy through that initiation that person went through. So it's lost. It's not lost, but it's here. It is within these books. This book, I think. There's a lot. There's a lot. It gives one source, another book that is pure French that does contain initiations. So it's kind of twisting when it gets to the end of the book. So the ceremony of the initiates. So since science is preserved through silence and is perpetuated through initiation. So you have to be initiated into the science, the art. So the law of silence is thus only absolute and inviolable relative to the multitude of the non-initiated. So the science can only be transmitted through words. Therefore, the sages must sometimes speak. So that will come. Spirit initiation. This is a lot of inner alchemy and spiritual initiations with deity in the astral realms. So yes, the sage must speak, not to say, but to lead others to find. So, noli ire fac venir, which is a very famous quote. It's Latin for "I do not wish to go, but to make others come." So, alright. Okay, so who in possessing that was Rabelais. That was, I don't even know how to say these names. And that was his motto. Who in possessing all the sciences of his time could not have been ignorant of magic. So, okay, so we will thus reveal here the mysteries of initiation. So if you guys can actually just kind of peer through, my darling sister Catherine, you are You're figuring it out. So I think it's all of us. We come to the realization, boom, we have that realization, which is amazing. So through realization, I think realization, that and then acting on what we are inspired by the all, by source, by God, goddess, whatever whatever name we place on it. So, the destiny of man is, as we have said, to make or create himself. He is and will be the son of his works for the moment of and for eternity. Where does that sound familiar to you guys? Yeah, it does. It's the Bible. So, all men are called to take part. The number of the elect, that is to say, those who succeed, is always small. So, in other terms, men who desire to do something are great in number, and the men of the elite are always rare. So, very interesting. This is raising me some questions right here. Okay, so it says, but the government of the world belongs by right to the elite. The magicians, the witches? Is that possible? And when a mechanism or some usurpation prevents them from, in fact, having it, a political or social cataclysm occurs. What's going on right now? What is going on right now in the world? It's scary. So, the men who are masters of themselves easily become masters of others. Master yourself, know yourself. So then they can mutually obstruct each other if they do not recognize the laws of discipline and a universal hierarchy. So if you're going against everything, the laws of nature, literally, you're not. You are submitting to your own shackles and chains, and you are chaining yourself right back up. Once you break through once you're liberated from the shackles of, all the dogma that has brainwashed you. So to submit to the same discipline, there must be a communion of ideas and of desires, and one can only arrive at this communion through a common religion founded on the actual basis of intelligence and reason. So this is hinting to a lot of stuff. This religion has always existed in the world, and it is the only one that can be called infallible, unfailing, and truly Catholic. So that is to say, universal. So there must be another meaning behind the word Catholic. So keep that in mind. So this religion, for which all others are just successive veils and shadows, is the one which demonstrates being through being, the truth through reason, reason through evidence, and common sense. I wonder what religion that is. Do you guys know? You guys will find out. So, alright, moving on. It is the one which proves through the realities of the reasoned dare, of the hypothesis, independent and outside of the realities. So, that raises some questions. So it is the one which has its foundations in the doctrine of universal analogies, but which never confuses the things of science with the things of faith. Hermeticism. I didn't say that. So it can never be a matter of faith that 2 and 1 make more or less than 3. That the physical contents can be larger than the container. That a solid body and a solid can act like a fluid or a gaseous body. that a human body, for example, can pass through a closed door without either opening it or bursting through. What does that sound like to you guys? So, to say that one believes such a thing is to speak like a child, or like a madman, but it is no less foolish to define the unknown and apply reason to it. So, from hypothesis to hypothesis until you are denying a priori evidence in order to affirm full-heartedly suppositions. So the sage affirms what he knows and only believes what he does not know in the measures of the reasonable and known necessities of the hypothesis. It's getting good. It's getting really good. I'm very excited about this. So, alright, here we go. So, but this reasonable religion will never be that of the multitudes, who requires fables, mysteries, and defined hopes, and materially motivated terrors. It is for this reason that the priesthood was established in the world. Yet the priesthood recruits through initiation. I wonder if you guys can kind of see through that. So, religious forms perish when initiation ceases to be practiced within the sanctuary, either through divulgation or through negligence and oblivion of the sacred mysteries. So think back to when religion, when they started to actually write and practice their faith. That goes back to Egypt. So, alright, where'd I go? The Gnostic divulgations, for example, distanced the Christian church from the big truths of the Kabbalah, which contain all the secrets of the higher theology, the blind having become the leaders of the blind, great obfuscations which were produced great falls and deplorable scandals. So, this is leading us back. Let your imagination just take you back when you listen to this. So, then the sacred books, whose keys are all Kabbalistic from Genesis to Revelation, became so unintelligible to Christians that the pastors, with reason, judged it necessarily to forbid the simple faithful to read them. Does that sound familiar? I think it does. So, taken on their word and understood materially, these books can only be, as the school of Voltaire can only too well demonstrate it, an inconceivable tissue of absurdities and scandals. So, this is the case for all ancient doctrines. So, and they are appearing. They are popping up everywhere. It's crazy. It's great. So, with their brilliant theogonies and their poetic legends, to say the ancients believed in Greece, in the loves of Jupiter, or adored in Egypt the Cynocephalus and the sparrowhawk is living and real gods, is to be as ignorant as in bad faith as one would be claiming that Christians adore a triple god consisting of an old man, a torture victim, and a pigeon. So, we can see now that these are all holographic projections of our mind, but they're real. So, alright. So, the straightforward meaning of the symbols. Yes, of the symbols is always columinary. Columinary, yes. That is why one should first and foremost guard oneself well against mocking things that one does not understand. When their wording seems to suppose an absurdity or even some singularity, it would be it would also be just as senseless to accept them without discussion or examination. It's pretty interesting. This is very interesting. So, we're finding out quite a bit through this. So, before there is anything that pleases or displeases us, there is truth. That is to say, reason. So truth is reason. And it is by this reason that our actions must be regulated rather than known by our pleasures, if we wish to create intelligence within us, which is the reason there of immortality, and justice, which is law. So, it's all about controlling the emotions. Controlling the inner. When you can control the inner, you can control the out. So the man who is truly a man can only wish for what he must do reasonably and justly. And he also imposes silence on his lusts and fears, so as to only hear reason. Right there. Such a man is a natural king and a spontaneous priest for the errant multitudes. It is for this reason that the object of the ancient initiations was indifferently called the sacerdotal art and the royal art. So, this goes way back. So, the ancient magical associations were seminaries of priests and kings, and one only managed to be admitted through truly sacerdotal and kingly works. That is to say, by placing overall oneself above all the weakness of nature. Interesting. So we will not repeat here what is found everywhere regarding the Egyptian initiations, perpetuated, though in a weakened form. So, the ancient Egyptian initiations, unless we had one of them come back from the dead, we will never have that purest form of initiation from them. So it's been weakened, it's been watered down. So, sadly. So, in the secret societies of the Middle Ages, a Christian radicalism founded on the false understanding of these words. So these words right here. You have only one Father and one Master, and you are all brothers. That's a lie. That is a big lie. So, struck a terrible blow to the sacred hierarchy. Since that time, the sacerdotal dignities have been bestowed by intrigue or happenstance. Active mediocrity has managed to supplant modest superiority, and in consequence is much understood, and meanwhile initiation being an essential law of religious life, an instinctively magical society was formed with the decline of pontifical power, and soon concerned in itself alone all the powers of Christianity, because only it alone had vaguely understood, but positively exercised the hierarchical power through the trials of initiation and the omnipotence of faith in passive reverence. So, alright, the Trinity. What do you guys think the Trinity actually is? Father, the Father, the Mother, the Child. That's what that is. When two people come together, create in marriage, they create what? A son or a daughter. So, what would you be? If you're the only child, what would you be? Think about that, guys. So, think about that. Had soon concerned itself alone, all the powers of Christianity, because only it vaguely. Okay, so yes, I already told you guys that. So, what in fact did the initiate do in the ancient initiations? What did they do? We can actually go back in time with our imaginations, and we can channel that. So, he entirely abandoned his life and his liberty to the masters of the temples of Thebes, or of Memphis. So, not Memphis, Tennessee, Egypt. So, he had advanced resolutely through innumerable trials of terror terror that might make him a suspect, a premeditated plot against his life. He crossed burning Piraeus, swam through torrents of seething black water, and suspended himself over unknown heights, over precipice without end. So, it's very, different. This is very different. So this leads me back to the Kabbalion, which I need to really look at again. So, was this not blind reverence in all the forces of that term? It is not to momentarily abjure one's liberty in order to arrive at emancipation, the most perfect exercise of liberty? Yet, that is what must be done, and has always been done by those who aspire to the sanctum regnum of magical omnipotence. So that the Jesuits are meant there. So, the disciples of Pythagoras condemned themselves to a strict silence for several years. Even this sectarian of Epicurus only understood the sovereignty of pleasure through acquired sobriety and calculated temperance. Think of this stuff. There are so many mysteries within these mysteries. Right, so, life is war, where one must prove oneself to rise in rank. Power is not given, one must take it. Initiation through struggle and trial is thus indispensable for arriving at the practical science of magic. We have already said how we can triumph over the 4 elemental forms. We will not repeat it, and we refer our readers who wish to know the ancient ceremonies to the works of the Baron de Tiscudi, author of The Flaming Star, the Masonic something. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word. The Flaming Star. Keep that in mind. The Flaming Star. So, and several other highly, I do need glasses, guys. Estimable Masonic brochures. So we must insist here upon this reflection that the intellectual and social chaos in the midst of which we perish has its causes in the negligence of initiation, of its trials and of its mysteries. Men for which jealousness, I think that they were trying to say, zealousness was stronger than science, impressed by the popular maxims of the Gospels. So, I have my eye on the Gnostic Gospels. There's got to be more secrets and more magic within those. So believed in the primordial. These people, maxims of Gospels, believed in the primordial and absolute equality of people. So, a famous crackpot, the eloquent and unfortunate Rasu, propagated with all the magic of his style this paradox. So, that society alone depraves men, as to say that competition and the emulation of others' work rendered workers lazy. So, this is interesting stuff. Very interesting. What time is it? Oh, geez. So, the essential law of nature, that of initiation through works and through laborious and voluntary progress, we have been fatally misunderstood. Freemasonry had its deserters, as did Catholicism. So, what was the result? The iron level replaced the intellectual and symbolic level. It is not to preach equality to those below without telling them how to rise. The commitment to defend or to descend oneself. So as soon as we descend, we achieve the reign of the Carmino, of the Sanctulets, and of Marat. So, to be uplifting, to lift up a flattering and declining society, one must re-establish hierarchy and initiation. So, the job is difficult, but everyone of intelligence already knows that it must be done. So, should we need the world to go through another flood for this to happen? We strongly desire that it should not be so. And this book, the greatest perhaps, but not the last of our audacities, is a call to those still living to reconstitute life, even in the middle of decomposition and of death. So, we have a lot going on here. We have a lot going on here. Quite a bit. Quite a bit. So, that is basically the secret of initiation. So, lots of stuff that that I'm going to research. So, but you guys are doing amazing with Ouija Boot Camp. I'm loving it. So I'm going to have to go here really soon because I have to get my license and I have to get a bunch of other stuff done. But yes, what I want you guys to do is just to continue, pick out a myth, and then find the deity. Well, first, obviously, you're going to pick out the spirit or the deity. Find that myth, a single myth. Let's take Pan, for instance. Now, let's go through history and do through analogy. Let's see where Pan is. So we have Pan here, coming down the line, timeline of history. What is Pan's, what's going on with Pan? Also, one more thing before I go. I want you guys to research the goddess Sophia in Gnosticism. It is very, very, very interesting. So, I've listened to a lot of stuff about Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, last night. I think it might be Lucifer. There's really nothing to show. So, that's where the board comes in. So, alright. We have, yes, I do want to go into the major arcana of the tarot too. So we'll do that tomorrow. Definitely find a deity and do just a little tiny bit of mythology with that deity and associate it with every god or goddess that you know. Compare it to the Christian God and see what you come up with. It's very interesting. So, through analogy though. So, alright guys. Just a little bit of stuff I had to share with you guys today. So, let's see. Patreon. Are you guys on there still? My Ouija Boot Campers? That's where all the posts, that's where all the lessons are. So I will go into that tonight. I will finish up with, we are going to go into the last of the prayers of the elementals. So that is with the gnomes tonight. So that's very interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed the, the exercising of the 4 directions and all of the correspondences for all of these workings. So, it's very interesting. Just read between the lines, decipher with your own intuition. And I know my Ouija Boot Campers, you guys will figure this out. So I just wanted to pop in and say hi. Share that little bit with you that I really honestly think is pretty important in our work, our magical work, all of it. So, alright guys, I will see you all tomorrow. Sorry, it was short, so got up late today. So I love you all very much. All the way from Venus, all the way back down. So I will see you all tomorrow, and just kind of think about this. Think about everything that was just said. And the myth. Make sure you try to do the myth. So, and the reenactment, and keep doing the meditations. So, alright guys. I love you all. Thank you guys for all the prayers and the love and everything for Chico. Yeah. I don't want to go there right now, so. Alright guys. I love you all very much. And I just, yes, thank you. Thank you all. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow.